Prompting 101 is basically about communicating what we really want the model to do for us. And it is really similar to talking to a coworker, actually, but AI loves structure. And today we'll go through the structure that is offered by Anthropic team. They were sharing it in a video. They claim that they use it and they use it to help their customers. So basically, creating a prompt is to a large extent about context. Otherwise, AI just guesses without clear instructions. And if we speak about models, recent model of Anthropic Opus 4.7, it requires a more precise prompting than previous one. So previous one was eager to guess, and this one really needs us to be as precise as we can. And as always, experimenting, iterating, and testing is what we always do in tech. And this is a screenshot from the presentation by Anthropic. So it means that first we can start with some kind of a prompt, maybe draft prompt, try it, see what happens, and then add up some context. And here, what we can also go for is to play around with prompting, and we can do it with Workspace by Anthropic and OpenAI. OpenAI also have this playground, and you can try and see how it really works in real life. And I will open it now. Why I'm showing you the temperature is because when we are trying out, playing around with prompt, we can play around with temperature. And what this temperature is about, many models are optimized for a certain temperature. And temperature means that how risk aware is the model. So if we choose 0 from 0 to 0.3, it means that it's really predictable. And it is playing safely, looking for safe choices, looking for most common answers. And here in the example by Anthropic and recent one, let's start with a clean one. You can choose the model here, and here you can choose the model in the setup, the latest one, almost all of the time the best one. And also you can choose thinking, it can be adaptive, it is in Claude Chat, or it can be disabled, but you can choose the number of tokens here, meaning that how long the answer will be searched for and how many tokens can be spent while the model is looking for it now. So here we can play around. Actually, they have a link here how to design a prompt, and they recommend here as well using variable names and stuff. And their example is actually really cool. In the video, I will share the video as well. And this temperature thing is something we can play around and help model to think in a more creative way. And for code, it's normally 0, 0.2, 0.3, because code is something really predictable. So basically, to be creative, we can choose a higher temperature and to be more safe, on a safe side, probably with examples when we need to be more sure than for the standard. As for Anthropic team, what they are offering the following prompt structure. They are offering the role and the high-level task description. And what they suggest is that we add up all of it one by one. So we start with the first level, and then we are going deeper and are adding more and more layers. And this is how we can go after it and play around in the playground by OpenAI, or play around with Workbench of Anthropic, or we can also do it with open source models. We can also choose the temperature there for DeepSeek, for example. A new version was released recently, and we also should and can use temperature there to lower one for more precision and higher one for more creative tasks, so that prediction could be. But what is important here is when we get our model being more creative, it's more prone to hallucinating, because it is trying to predict something that might not be seen that often. This is why this is something to play around for sure. That is the detailed structure that they offer. And also I've built this guide, and the guide that is telling precisely about every part of this prompt structure based on the content by Anthropic. But what we can say here is that context is always what matters most, and part of this context is the task itself, for the model to understand what we want and for us to understand what we want. That is also really important, actually, what we want to get as an outcome, as our perfect result, and how it should be working. And here, examples matter a lot. What is also recommended, I really like this one, about thinking step by step. The more mature AI models are getting, the less important it is getting. But there are some cases, if you are setting up a product that should be working in certain steps, like in the example by Anthropic, when an insurance company is screening the details of an accident. And the details of an accident are basically a form and an image that is drawn by hand. So when AI is going deeper in all of this context, it needs to understand how this form looks, what the parts of the form are. And what matters a lot is the example, what I really like, that the example by Anthropic is about Swedish. It's not about English. And they also include that the form and the drawing are both in Swedish, and they are describing on this form, all this form. And of course, there's this thing that even if you are describing step-by-step tasks to AI, it might not follow it. But the chances are, and the more mature the models are getting, the more precisely they are following the tasks, like in Opus 4.7. It is following it much better but with less guessing and less inventing. Anyways, the process includes, if you know that the process includes certain steps, and while those steps are processing, the context is enriching and the outcome, the result, should get better. This is where it is really important to invest into showing these steps. And how you can do easily, it's really important, I would say, and it's a good practice to get interviewed by AI. Ask it to get interviewed about a certain situation and tell it that you need the step-by-step at the end. Not always, it is not always required, of course, but it might really help, especially in product development. A little bit about prompts organization. They also offer the XML tags. What they say is that it helps AI understand better and sort of scan the context in a more token efficient way. That's what we all want, especially with longer prompts and more complicated tasks. I really like this one about preventing hallucinations, even if, as we already discussed in our first lecture, hallucinations are part of how modern models are really working, and no one has sort of managed to find a way for transformers not to hallucinate, and probably it's not possible. But there are some ways to say, Claude, especially this one, say, I don't know if it doesn't know. The fact is that current models are trained to always get you an answer, but we can try. And it's always a test. We don't know if model will really say, I don't know. But if we get to this temperature around 0, it is likely to say no if it doesn't know, without any inventing, without creativity and stuff. That's why you can go and play around in the playground, how it's going to work. And also this one, think before answering. Answer only if you're very confident in the response. It matters a lot for really precise tasks, like I mentioned, when we speak about data analysis, when we speak about insurance, about the outcomes and stuff. And this is how we can work with hallucinations. Also, it is really about testing. We do not know for sure that in our precise case with our setup, it might work. And this is a space to play around with. Also perceive it like a game. And also as we went into, we'll open again. Here we have a prompt instructions or prompt for Claude, and we also have system prompt. Now, what a system prompt means is that if we have something that is true for every thread that we have, then we should include it in our system prompt. Like for an insurance company that has the form included into analysis, we can describe how the form works for AI not to guess, because as it is guessing, it is trying to understand how it is really working, the form itself, if the form is included, and describing it for it not to spend tokens, because it does spend tokens when this is happening. We can really add the context. And it's optional. I would say that system prompt, like for OpenAI, ChatGPT, there is a system prompt if all your conversations should be managed with certain context. Maybe use it for work, for example. Then you say, I am a product manager and I need this, that, and that. So let's get back here. About extended thinking, what I wanted to mention is that extended thinking is a good way to work with complicated tasks, right? So it gives a model more time to think. And in general, it is considered that thinking longer might produce a better result. But they also mentioned in their presentation that this giving the answer and reinventing the wheel is what you can get with simpler tasks. And what I wanted to share is actually another tool that we briefly discussed, but the Notebook LM. It is really a good way to use what we already know about prompting. I will be sharing the screen now. And the tool is really visual. I think you might have heard about this really cool feature of a short podcast that can be like an audio overview of any content, whether it's huge or small. When I first heard it, I was really impressed. But what we can use it for, what I made it, how I used it, I created a prompting guide. And this prompting guide is based on a conversation of Sander Schulhoff, and he is the founder of Learn Prompting, one of the first platforms that was founded to teach people how to prompt. I would say it is less relevant because previous models needed more prompting and guidance, and current ones are more independent in terms of guessing and helping us. But anyways, it is relevant, especially for product development. It is still relevant and can save you time. So basically what we can do here, and I will share this notebook with you as well. Here we have flashcards that we can use to go through the documentation, because basically I guess the video that I made it from was probably 2.5 hours or something, and using it as a source document. So firstly, I took the transcript, I created the empty file that is like a guide basically. It added all the techniques like few-shot prompting, giving it examples. This is also mentioned by Anthropic a lot. And sort of decomposition, asking for some problems first, self-criticism. It's really good one, like we mentioned during our first meeting about evaluating, like how sure are you in the result on the scale from 0 to 100. It works perfect because it is really evaluating what's happening, and then it is offering ways to produce improvements. And of course, additional information, context always works. Another way, like ask multiple ways, of course, helps a lot. You can create more chats, more threads, and use it. I really like the comment about role. If we create prompts using AI these days as well, they would always add the role. But the fact that role does not give you any guarantee of the result being better, the only thing that it does help with is the tone, voice, and style thing. Yeah, and here's another one, reality check. You can go through it on your own, and also ask it to create a prompt, recreate a prompt, and help you with this one as well. I also have had this project. I really wanted to check it, maybe even live. I have an AI coach, and I want to put it, maybe suggest how to make the prompt produce the best result based on the guide, based on the prompting guide. Just wondering what it's gonna say, because I took this prompt, I guess it was made by a coach some time ago, and I used it. It works quite fine for me, but these days I feel like it can be updated. Yeah, to make the reflection sharper than a get flies bite, move your biography to the very beginning of the prompt. Yeah, actually, I used this prompt last week because I was transferring it to Claude Code, and I used this prompt, but as it was answering, it did not really went through biography and codex. So it means that the prompt is really right. Next, do not merely describe my voice, show it. Feed me 2 or 3 examples or past dialogues where I challenge you with that playful irreverence you seek. Yeah, actually, that looks pretty cool. If I am to be a world-class coach, why not demand I critique my own reflections before I speak them to you? Description, give me the maps, and there's actually need to see you. I really like its answer. Actually, it's really cool. What you can do, I will share this one. You can go through everything that I generated.
Imagine.
Yeah, that's the that's a practical explainer. Actually, it has few mistakes in terms of
Prompt that's good.
Words basically, but not many. It's fine. It actually works quite fine, and it just takes a few minutes to go through it. There's also a quiz. I already started it to check it out how it's going, and it's a really nice way of learning, I guess. You can walk through it and you can create your own you can create your own and add another context. For example, you can add the link to this Anthropic video that I mentioned today, and it can be like a guide, like I've done. So I normally take the transcript, turn it into a guide, ask AI to double check if it included all the techniques and recommendations from the transcript to the guide. But actually, I feel like in this case, you can just add the link. We can just add the link. You can add the source here. And we'll see. We can ask again. Okay. Check the prompt below and suggest improvements. Okay. I should really copy the prompt. We'll see what changes, how many, and when we are doing it, when we are adding different sources before doing it, or we can do it right away in NotebookLM, we can check if the sources are if these sources agree to each other. So one of them can say different things. Like many people still say, okay, you should use roles in prompting, and it's kinda irrelevant these days, but it does not do any harm, so it's okay. But checking if different sources agree and actually checking how different these sources might be. Yeah, it actually added so many recommendations based off Anthropic to ensure it doesn't slip into jargon. Shame-based self-check to critique its own response before finalizing it. Yeah, that's actually really good. I feel like I will update it and turn it into an agent with Cloud Code and tell you what happens, how good it is, and if it is getting better or worse. We'll see about that. All right then, so I guess for today I will call it a day. And if you have any questions, go ahead. I'm ready to answer. And I think that I'll see you in 2 weeks, the May holidays. Yeah, okay. Actually, I think it really requires testing. If you know how the outcome should look, like this ideal outcome for you, then you can really test it out for yourself, right? Because actually, normally, when the task is not really straightforward, when it does not have exact steps and stuff like this and lots of context, maybe I just use AI regular chat to generate prompt for me. But I would say that for product development, I would use the approach like using this NotebookLM with a guide and try my just chat generated prompt versus this one that is more structured. I would put it like this. It's just, most of the time I just have like a project inside of my Claude chat or ChatGPT that has the context, including the Anthropic guidelines and Sender Schulhoff guidance, and this is how I generate. But for more, I would say, important tasks, right, that are sort of token sensitive and stuff like this on, for product development, that still matters, because this precision of execution, this is how you might influence still a little bit. And also there are, such things like I mentioned Mike Taylor in our first session. He's doing this prompt engineering course on Coursera, and it's really popular, and some of his insights are really good. It's like that every time that he is doing some important tasks that require some kind of precision, he's not using memory for ChatGPT, for example, because even slight quotes or like this huge setup of my coach, and I include some quotes from someone, and he had this really fun example that he included some quote for style, I guess by Drake or by someone, into his system prompt some time ago, and he forgot about this one, and then the result was sort of weird, and then he discovered that the system prompt had this thing about Drake, and it was really weird. So basically I would say it does not matter as much, but I would play around for important tasks. Okay, so all right, thank you for coming, and I'll see you in 2 weeks, and I will send the recording and a reading guide. Actually, have you tried the reading guide that I built for the first session? Have you checked it? Was it helpful somehow? Okay. Yeah. Okay, got it. Alrighty. So, okay. Thank you very much, and have a great long weekend. Yeah, bye-bye.